After completing my 10th class exams in 1979, my father suggested that I go and help my father's uncle and learn astrology. Mathematics being my favorite subject, I learned the calculations. My grandfather taught me how to calculate the inclinations of each planet and how to calculate the lagna and the meridian center MC, and he gave me some birth charts to draw. Thus, I learned how to draw the birth charts first and showed interest in predictions. So, my grandfather told me some predictions, some of the tips that he usually uses for predictions. And after learning those tips, I documented some of them. I verified with my father. While my father and my grandfather have laid the foundation for me to get interested in astrology, for almost a decade or 2 decades, I didn't show any interest. Welcome to Shastri Karra's Astrological series. In this series, I will be uploading a number of videos, especially for people who are interested to learn Vedic astrology. As usual, for the year 2025, I am including the Sidereal Ephemeris analysis for the year 2025, and here in this video I am going to analyze the year 2025, the transit analysis of the slow moving planets like Jupiter, Saturn and Rahu, and then analyze the birth charts of the two countries, United States of America and Republic of India, how these transit planets will be impacting the countries from all perspectives. I hope you will like this video too, like the others. Thank you very much. Let me start analyzing the important planetary combinations in the year 2025, specifically for the first 3 months, that is January, February and March. On 1st January 2025 till 28th of January, Venus co-joins with Saturn in Aquarius, and from 28th till 27th of February, Venus will co-join with Rahu in Pisces. Venus is exalted in Pisces. So, an exalted Venus is co-joining with a terminator planet or a malefic planet Rahu in Pisces. Then comes in from February 28th all the way till 15th of March. This is first important period in the year 2025 because Venus is exalted and it co-joins with Mercury. Mercury is debilitated there, and they both are co-joining with the malefic planet Rahu, and they are all in the Pisces. Again, from March 15th till end of March, Venus is still exalted, Mercury is still debilitated, but Sun enters Pisces somewhere in the month of March, after 15th March, and now Sun, Venus and Mercury, all the three important planets are co-joining Rahu in Pisces. So, from 15th March till the end of the March is the very crucial period, especially for those whether it is a country or a native, for those who have Sun or Venus as the Mahadasas or Sun or Venus as Lagnadipati. Now, let me go and look at the next 2 months. Especially I am only interested in analyzing April and May in this right now, because from 30th March all and 30th or 31st of March, the 2 days, especially those 2 days, what is going to happen is moon will be entering Pisces. Remember, this is a very important period, not because there are 5 planets that are going to co-join with Rahu in Pisces from on 30th and 31st of March, those 2 days. Saturn is going to enter Pisces partially. That means it is still will be in Rashandi, but its shadow has already in Pisces since November of 2024. That means 6 months before it enters the house, its shadow will be, it will project its shadows. So, Saturn shadow is already in Pisces since November of 2024, and now Saturn is going to enter Pisces on 30th or 31st of March, and along with Saturn, moon is also going to be in Pisces. That means exalted Venus, debilitated Mercury, Sun, Moon and Saturn. All the 5 planets are now going to co-join with Rahu on those 2 days. Those 2 days are very, very crucial for any country or the person, which I am going to analyze down the road. And next, from 1st April till 13th of April, there will be only 4 planets. That means Moon will be leaving Pisces, but still you still have Sun and Saturn co-joining with Venus, Mercury and Rahu in Pisces still until April of 13th April 2025. Then from 13th April till 6th of May, now there will be only 3 planets. That means Sun has left Pisces and entered Mesha or Aries, where it gets exalted. Now the Sun is exalted in Aries, Saturn is in Pisces, Venus and Mercury are still in Pisces, and Rahu, and they are all the 3 planets are co-joining with Rahu. From May 7th all the way till end of May, the thing is still the same period is still continued. We do not see any specific reason why there is a difference between from 13th April till 29th of May. Almost everything looks the same way it is. I am sure you understood why I emphasized only April and May in the previously, and now let me go through June all the way till December. That means for the whole the remaining 6 months in the year 2025, I am going to analyze what exactly is going to happen. It's the extremely crucial dates is from 5th or 6th of June and 7th of June, that is 2 to 2.5 days. Rahu enters Aquarius, and this is the first time, the very first time that Rahu is getting separated from Saturn, but it is entering the house owned by Saturn. So what you see is that even though transit Rahu has left that co-joining with Saturn, but it still has a relationship with Saturn because it is entering the house owned by Saturn. Next, another important thing you should see here is in the month of from 7th June all the way till end of July, the violent planet Mars will be in Leo, and the 7th aspect, Rahu's 7th aspect is on Rahu, who is in Aquarius. The 7th aspect is on Leo, and Mars 8th aspect is on Pisces, where Saturn is residing. So that means transit Mars is going to have a direct aspect on transit Rahu and transit Saturn. So this particular 1 month, approximately June 7th, so 55 to 60 days, 2 months. These 60 days are very extremely crucial for the all the countries, and especially for the countries where Mars plays a vital role, or whose Mahadasa is running, Mars Mahadasa is running, or Rahu Mahadasa is running, or Saturn Mahadasa is running. For example, for the United States of America, Rahu Mahadasa started in 2016 or 15 or 16 July 2016. So this is the period, this 55 to 60 days is very crucial for the country United States of America, because Mars will be in Leo, having a 7th aspect on transit Rahu and 8th aspect on transit Saturn. I will be explaining more in detail when I come over to analyze that particular country's chart. And the only good thing that in the year 2025 that I can hope for is from October onwards, when transit Jupiter is exalted and enters Cancer. So all those people for whom Jupiter is the Lagnadipati, or Jupiter is owning any important house, and Jupiter Mahadasa is running, for all of them, this is the period where amazing stuff happens. That includes for the country too, and which I am going to analyze see if for United States of America or Republic of India, if when transit Jupiter enters Cancer, how is the impact going to be. Before I go deep into the analysis of transit analysis of each important slow planet, what I want to do is that I want to talk a little bit about the slow planets, the shadow casting of the slow planets. These slow planets, even though they enter the Rasi before entering the Rasi, their shadow enters a little bit earlier. For example, Saturn, when Saturn's shadow enters 180 days before it enters the house. So, if you look at it, somewhere in the month of October, from 1st October 2024, Saturn shadow entered Pisces, while Saturn is going to enter Pisces on March 30th. And then the same way for Mars. Mars shadow is shadow begins to enter in Cancer somewhere in the 3rd April, and Jupiter's shadow will be starting from 15th of February, which we don't need to worry much about Mars or Jupiter. The most important thing that I will talk about is Saturn and Rahu, because those two are the extremely malefic planets. If you look at Rahu, Rahu is going to enter Aquarius somewhere in the month of May, end of May, but its shadow enters Aquarius on 28th of February, because it enters 60 days prior to the planet entering, the shadow enters in. So, just like from 1st October to 2024, Saturn's shadow entered Pisces, in just then Saturn behaves as if it owns Aquarius where it is residing and the Pisces where its shadow has entered. So, it impacts all those two bhavas. In the same way, Rahu, even though Rahu is in Pisces until May of 2025, assume that Rahu entered Aquarius somewhere on 28th of February, and because its shadow entered in. So, the impact of, if Rahu is in Aquarius, whatever the impact is going to happen for the native or for the country, the same impact gets initiated. You won't see the impact, you will see the initiation of the impact somewhere from after February 2028 onwards. Let me start a little bit about Ardhashtama Shani for when natal moon is in, for natives whose natal moon is in Sagittarius. Their Ardhashtama Shani begins from April 2025 onwards, and because from their natal moon, transit Saturn will be in the 4th house. So, that is when transit Saturn enters Pisces. So, it will be in the 4th house. And now, as soon as the Ardhashtama Shani begins for these particular natives, April, May, June, these 3 months, approximately April and May for sure, and little bit of June, 7th of June. So, until those 2 months, 1 week, 2 months, 1 week, transit Saturn and transit Rahu are going to be in the 4th house from the natal moon. That means the Ardhashtama Shani impact will be extremely high in the month of April and May for those natives whose natal moon is in Sagittarius. Now, let us go and see the transit Saturn aspects. Transit Saturn third aspect is on the 6th house from moon, that is the Rogastanamu. So, when the Ardhashtama Shani begins, the Rogastanamu gets activated, whether it will be either for the native or the native's mother if it is a human being. And then if it is a country, the 4th house represents weather and the 6th house represents public diseases. So, some sort of a public diseases gets initiated in April of or May of for a country due to weather impact. And then the 7th aspect is on the 10th from the moon. 10th house is career. So, and leadership too. So, we have to see how it happens for the country, but for native it is the career that gets a little bit volatile, and the 10th, thus the major aspects will be on the 10th house from the moon, and a moderate aspect impact is on the 6th and 1st house of the moon. And then comes both the 1st house. If you look at it, when moon is in Sagittarius and transit Saturn is in Pisces, both the house are occupied, or the Lord is Jupiter. So, for those people whose Mahadasa is Jupiter, who's having Vimsottari Mahadasa as Jupiter, Vimsottari Mahadasa, or for those who have Lagnadipati is Jupiter, or for those whose Jupiter is in a benefic house, not a malefic house like the 6th, 8th or 12th, then the chances are very high for those natives to have a minimal impact of this Ardhashtama Shani. They will do have an impact, but whatever the impact, that will be extremely minimal. So, they may not see it that much. Let me now analyze the Ashtama Shani for the natives, and if the native has a natal moon somewhere it's in Leo, then the chances are high for the native to go through the Ashtama Shani, because from natal moon transit Saturn will be in the 8th house. So, as usual in the 8th in April and May of 2025, transit Saturn will be co-joining with transit Rahu. So, the Ashtama Shani impact for these particular natives is extremely high in April and May of 2025. Now, let me go and look at the aspects of this transit Saturn. The third aspect is on the 10th house from moon. 10th house for natives is career. So, just like for the Ardhashtama Shani natives, even Ashtama Shani natives are also going to have an impact on their career. And then the 7th aspect is on the 2nd from moon. 2nd house is Kutumbasthanamu and Dhanasthanamu. Because of the impact of the 10th house career, the chances are very high for the native to go through some sort of a financial difficulties and disturbances in their family with misunderstandings with their family members. And the 10th aspect is on the 5th house from moon. 5th house is children and father. So, there will be, because of this all this mental stress due to the issues with the career and the finances and the misunderstandings with the family members, one of the family member will be the native's father or children. So, it all depends on how this particular impact will be. The most important thing that I want to tell for these Ashtama Shani people is not only that April and May that are very crucial for them, even June and July also. That because in June, somewhere in 7th of June, transit Mars will enter Leo. That means it is going to co-join with the natal moon for these particular natives. And as I said earlier, transit Mars 7th aspect is on Rahu and 8th aspect is on Saturn. And now moon 7th aspect is on Rahu, and this native is going to the Ashtama Shani. The impact will be extremely noticeable from April, May, June and July. So, these 4 months are crucial for any native who is going to have a Ashtama Shani from April of 2025. Let me start discussing about the Sade Shani for the natives who have the Sade Shani. The very first thing that is the phase 3, the last phase of Sade Shani for those natives. So, if for any native, if the natal moon is in Aquarius, so they will be completing the second phase of Sade Shani somewhere in April of 2025, and their third and final phase of Sade Shani begins in April of 2025. April and May, those are the 2 months where for these particular natives, since transit Saturn is going to co-join with transit Rahu and they are going through the last phase of Sade Shani, April and May are the 2 difficult times for this particular native. The second phase of Sade Shani, which they are going to end in April of 2025, unfortunately that particular impact will be continued both in April and May. Rather than ending on 30th of March their second phase, they feel that that particular second phase of Sade Shani is being extended by 2 more months. In the month of April and May, they see the same impact. But for this particular one is the last phase of Sade Shani, and if you look at the transit Saturn's aspects, the third aspect of transit Saturn is on the 4th from the moon. That means this particular native is 4th house is Sukhasthanamu, is home life environment, and Matrusthanamu too. So, this particular native, this is the last phase of Sade Shani, will have an impact related with home life environment, and if depending upon the native's mother's birth chart, there will be some sort of a disturbances in his or her mother life. And now transit Saturn 7th aspect is on the 8th house from moon. This is very important to know, keep in mind. During this Sade Shani, transit Saturn 7th aspect is on the 8th house from moon. 8th house is Marakasthanamu, and so since it is from the moon, the impact will be something that needs to be extremely cautious, and the impact you can figure out what the possible impacts will be based upon the individual chart. You cannot generalize saying that since it is the 8th house from moon, there's going to be a threat to the life. That's not possible, because you have to see a lot of other combinations. So I won't be mentioning anything at this point. And transit Saturn's 10th aspect is on the 11th house from moon. 11th house is Labhasthanamu, financial gains and financial losses. So because there is the third aspect is on the 4th house from moon, home life environment, and the 4th house is also sometimes considered to be fixed assets, like buying the real estate or owning agricultural property, something like that. The impact is on the 11th house, which is the financial gains or losses. Since it is the Sade Shani last phase, the chances are high for the native to have some sort of a financial losses with respect to fixed assets. And the most important thing, like I said earlier, is the month of June and July, because that's when transit Mars will enter Leo, and it is the 7th, and Leo is the 7th house from natal moon. 7th house is also not a good house, and transit Mars is already having a direct aspect on the 7th house where natal moon is residing, and in June, from June onwards, transit Rahu will be co-joining with natal moon, and transit Mars 8th aspect is again on Saturn. So the most important thing for these people who are going through the third phase of Sade Shani is that they are going to have an impact on the 8th house from natal moon, and they are going to have an impact on the 8th house from Mars, transit Mars. So it is extremely challenging for these particular natives from April, May, June, July. All these 4 months will be extremely challenging. So I would highly recommend those people to be cautious in every step they are making, in any decision they are making, especially from April all the way till July. Now let me go and look at the second natives for whom that is a second phase of Sade Shani is going on. Second phase of Sade Shani means natal moon is in Pisces. That's when the second phase of Sade Shani begins, and from already when transit Saturn is in Aquarius and natal moon is in Pisces, they are going through the first phase of Sade Shani. And now when transit Saturn enters Pisces somewhere in April, they are going to go through the second phase of Sade Shani, which is very crucial, because transit Saturn will be co-joining with natal moon for the whole two to 2.5 years, and transit Rahu is going to be co-joining with both transit Saturn and natal moon for another 2 months, April and May of 2025. So overall, for the people who are going through the not just the third phase, even the people who are going through the second phase of Sade Shani, they too will have some sort of an impact in the month of April, May, June and July. All the 4 months they got to be extremely careful. Now let me go and look at the transit Saturn's aspects with respect to natal moon. The third aspect is on the 3rd house from moon, 7th aspect is on the 7th house from moon, and the 10th aspect is on the 10th house from the moon. Whereas the major possible impacts will be on the 7th house and the 10th house from the moon, the impact will be minor or moderate is the 3rd house from moon. And then another important thing we have to keep in mind, just like for the other Sade Shani people who are going to the third phase, even for the second phase people also, in June and July, transit Mars is going to have a 8th aspect on transit Saturn and transit moon. So transit Mars having a 8th aspect on natal moon is not a good sign, and that too co-joining with the transit Saturn is not at all a good sign. So natives who are going through the second phase of Sade Shani must be extremely careful, and when they are making any major decisions or any major things that they are thinking of doing it. So, let me go through the other one where you can see the first phase impact. The Sade Shani for the natives, the first phase is going to start in April of 2025 for those natives who have natal moon in Aquarius, Mesha Lagna, Mesha Rasi, or Mesha Rasi. For those natives, the first phase of Sade Shani will begin somewhere in April of 2025, but the Sade Shani impact, they might have already noticed it from October of 2024, because transit Saturn shadow enters Pisces in the month of October, or in the month of October of 2024. So, they already started seeing the impact of Sade Shani first phase in their lives, and now, as I said earlier, transit Rahu will be with transit Saturn for another 2 more months, April and May. So, during the first phase of Sade Shani, these particular natives are going to have a different issues, which is unexplainable at this point, because it has to be looked on a case by case way, depending upon the natives other planetary positions. Now, let me go and look at the transit Saturn aspects. The third aspect of transit Saturn is the second from the moon. Second is Dhanasthanamu and Kutumbasthanamu. So, for people, natives whose Sade Shani is about to start in April, they will be seeing some sort of a disturbances in their Dhanasthanamu and Kutumbasthanamu. Kutumbasthanamu means a relationship with their family members somewhere from October of 2024 onwards. So, you can note those natives will see that there are some loss in, means whatever their wealth, they are going to lose some wealth, like selling of their real estates, or selling of their other fixed assets, or losing cash, or losses in their businesses. All those things is loss of wealth, and that is the first option. The second option is having misunderstandings with their family members, and that misunderstandings, how far does it go, depends on person to person's birth chart. But for sure, because the transit Saturn third aspect is on the second house from moon, for sure the Kutumbasthanamu and Dhanasthanamu will have a major impact. The impact starting somewhere in October of 2024, but the real impact they will see it from April of 2025. Now, transit Saturn's seventh aspect is on the sixth house from moon. Sixth house is Rogasthanamu in general, and also the house of separation. So, for these particular natives, if there are any sort of a family disturbances because of this first phase of Sade Shani, they will surely see that that family misunderstandings and disturbances with their family members, resulting into some sort of a separation. Is that separation temporary or permanent depends upon the individual's birth chart. And transit Saturn's 10th aspect is on the 9th house from moon. Look here, 9th house is Bhagyasthanamu and Dharmasthanamu too. So, when there is a issue with the family members and there is a possibility of being separated from the family members, that might result into some sort of adharma, because transit Saturn is looking at the Dharmasthanamu. That means it results into some activity that is against the dharma. Dharma is in the sense depending upon the native's religion, the culture and the social environment. Whatever is dharma for in that during that era or at that time, the native will be going against that. And this is something that worries me a lot, is that these particular natives are going to have a lot of issues, not only in their family matters, with their family members, but and loss of wealth, but they are going to have some sort of activity indulge in some sort of activities that is against the dharma. And 9th house is also Bhagyasthanamu. Just like 2nd house is Dhanasthanamu, 9th house is Bhagyasthanamu. So, even that one will also get impacted. That means the Bhagyasthanamu is also will be impacted. Unfortunately, this transit Mars, when it enters Leo, Leo is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth house, the fifth house from natal moon. So, Leo, as soon as transit Mars enters Leo, which is the fifth house, this particular native is going to have some impact, some sort of a disturbances in their relationships or anything in the month of June or July, and that will be either with his or her parents, his or her children. We cannot tell exactly who would be the reason, with whom will be these disturbances, but it will be either parent, father or children. It all depends on individual's personal chart. In this video, I am going to take the example of the United States of America's birth chart and analyze the year 2025, the transit analysis. And here is the birth chart of United States of America, and what you can see here is Saturn. Let us start with from natal moon. All the transit planets that I look at it is from the natal moon, and for the country, the natal moon is in Aquarius. Oh, okay. So, the country is going through the second phase of Sade Shani. Now, you can see that for the past 5 years, the Sade Shani period has started, and until April of 2025, the country will be going through the second phase of Sade Shani. So, somewhere in April, transit Saturn will be moving to Pisces. That means the third phase of Sade Shani will begin for the United States of America, and until June of 2025, transit Rahu will be in Pisces, co-joining with transit Saturn, and then somewhere in June, transit Rahu will move to Aquarius and then co-join with natal moon. So, whatever the way the things are going in this kind, in United States of America for the past 4 to 5 years will be continued for 2 to 3 more years. The first thing is because the country is going to the second phase of Sade Shani, the impact, whatever the impact that the country is going through for the past 2 years will be continued for 6 more months, that is approximately until April of 2025. The most important thing that I want to emphasize here is that from April, May, June, July, these are the 4 months that the country will be seeing some unexpected events to happen, and that is something primarily because of, first of all, transit Saturn and transit Rahu being co-joining in April and May of 2025, and transit Mars entering Leo and having a 7th aspect on transit Rahu and 8th aspect on transit Saturn. Now, let me go and individually analyze the planets. First of all, transit Saturn. Like I said, the Sade Shani phase will be until April, which is extremely bad, and then because it is in the first house from the natal moon, and then it moves to second house somewhere in April. So, and that will be there all the way for the year 2025. Transit Saturn is going to be in the second house. Then Rahu. Transit Rahu will be in the second house from natal moon until June of 2025, and then it will come to the first house from June onwards. And it is when transit Rahu enters the first house, which is in June, it co-joins with natal moon, and then the period will be extremely bad. Already, because of transit Saturn co-joining with natal moon for the past 2 years, the period is bad, and that bad period will be continued from a different aspect. The period will be bad, but the aspect is different, means for a different reason. I mean to say that for a different reason, when transit Rahu co-joins with natal moon, it will be bad. Keep one thing in mind: when transit Saturn co-joins with natal moon, whatever the bad is going to happen is easily predictable. But when Rahu, who is the unpredictable planet, when transit Rahu co-joins with natal moon in the month of June, that unpredictable events, whatever is going to happen is completely unpredictable, unexpected, and that is going to have a big impact on the country's what you call GDP or the economy or the public health, and foreign relationships with other countries. All these things are going to have a major impact. And as I said earlier, in the month of June and July, only 2 months, Mars will be in Leo. First of all, Mars in the 7th house from natal moon is not good. And to add further, the transit Mars 7th aspect is on natal moon and transit Rahu. Transit Mars 8th aspect is on transit Saturn. So we got to be very careful. The country what I should say it as, the country will see some unexpected events one more time, that is in June and July. So overall, from April, May, June, July, all the 4 months are extremely challenging for the country, the administration, the country's economy, and from all aspects it is a challenge. So the only good thing that I can see for United States of America is when transit Jupiter enters Cancer somewhere in October. That's when, means like all the bad events that happened in April, May, June, July gets settled. The dust gets settled by October. Hopefully, when transit Jupiter enters Cancer, the dust gets settled, and that's when you will see some sort of a normalcy, normal countries, events happening normally from October of 2025 onwards. Now that I just gave the rough idea about the transit planets impacting the country's birth chart, let me go and look at the Vimsottari Dasa. The Vimsottari Dasa, this is the 3rd cycle of Vimsottari Dasa that is happening for the United States, because the date of birth is 1776, the 4th July. And if you look at it, Rahu Mahadasa started on 6th July 2016, and it will last all the way till 2024. So right now the Rahu Mahadasa is running for the country, and Rahu being in the 2nd house for the past 1 year or 1.5 years approximately, for the country the 2nd house is economy. The most of the people who had heard the news might have heard that how economy was being bad in the country for the past 1 year. That's because Rahu is in the 2nd house. Once Rahu comes to the 1st house, then the impact will be much higher. And if you look at it, somewhere Rahu Mahadasa and Mercury Antardasa started on 6th September 2024. The elections happened during the Rahu Mahadasa and Mercury Antardasa, and now Mercury Pratyantara Dasa is going to end on 6th January 2025. That means by the new year in 2025, what we see is Rahu Mahadasa, Mercury Antardasa, and Ketu Pratyantara Dasa, which is starting on 7th of January, and that lasts for 6th of March. Ketu, because it is a Ketu Pratyantara Dasa, the impact will be it's a little bit challenging, not sure what exactly is going to happen, in which direction is the country moving, how are the things going to get settled, how are the problems going to get resolved. Everything will be in a challenging mode. Then comes the most important is the Venus Pratyantara Dasa, which is starting on 7th of March and ending in 6th of July. Like I said earlier, it is during this Venus Pratyantara Dasa, transit Saturn and transit Rahu are going to meet in pieces. Transit Rahu is going to come into Aquarius during the Venus Pratyantara Dasa, and transit Mars is going to have a direct aspect on transit Rahu and transit Saturn during this Venus Pratyantara Dasa. And so overall, if you look at it, Mercury and Venus are the most important planets here. Since it is a Rahu Mahadasa, everything is unexpected. So only thing we have to look at is, okay, if that is the case, what is going to happen when these two Pratyantara Dasas comes into picture. First of all, if you look at Mercury, Mercury is the 6th house lord residing in the 7th house co-joined with, Mercury is the 5th house lord residing in the 6th house co-joined with Rahu. 6th house is public diseases, and so Mercury is staying in the house owned by moon, natal moon. So, because Rahu will be co-joining with the moon somewhere in June, so and the Mercury Pratyantara Dasa is starting, and already natal Rahu has co-joined with natal Mercury, things will be a little bit challenging for the whole Mercury Pratyantara Dasa, which is until March of 2027. Everything will be a challenge in the country, and most 99.9% of the time everything will be unexpected. So, and then comes the Venus. Venus is the 4th house lord and 9th house lord. 4th house is for the country, it is weather, agriculture stuff, and the 9th house is Dharmasthanamu. So, I am sure you can understand what could be the impact, in which angle the country will face problems is pertaining to weather, agriculture, Dharmasthanamu. And the 9th house also talks about Bhagyasthanam. Bhagyasthanam means earnings of the country's earnings. For a country, the earning is through taxes and selling goods and that stuff. So there might be some sort of a disturbances there, particularly when it comes to selling the country, the products manufactured in the country, selling it to an outsider, like it to a different country. So that's where the major problem can be noticed. Let me go more in detail about the transit analysis for United States of America. And here Saturn is in the second phase, is in the first house until April, and first house represents the whole country in general. So with Sade Shani running and from January through April of 2025, Saturn's impact will be highly visible in every aspect of the country's situation. That's period. So, and that's what is what people might be noticing it, and the impact that the country was experiencing for the past 2 years. That means when transit Saturn entered Aquarius and its second phase of Sade Shani began in somewhere in 2022. Whatever since 2022, however whatever the impact is in the country, the same will be continued until April of 2025. And then comes the most important thing here is Saturn entering the second house from natal moon. And remember, second house for a country, for an individual, second house is Dhanasthanamu and Kutumbasthanamu. But for a country, it is country's economy, the GDP, the banking sector, because Dhanasthanamu for a country means the banking sector, the financial institutions, stock market, the bond market. These four together is considered to be the Dhanasthanamu for a country. And Kutumbasthanamu means the relationship between the people in the people in the country. That is the Kutumbasthanamu, because it's assumed that Kutumbamu means all the people in the same place. So now when transit Saturn enters Pisces in somewhere in April, the first 2 months it's going to co-join with transit Rahu, and unexpected chaos is for sure in the month of April, May approximately. And this unexpected chaos is, you can see that some sort of this unexpected chaos that will be initiated when transit transit Saturn's in shadow already entered Pisces in October of 2024. That chaos will be continued for initiation of that chaos will be continued all the way till March of 2025. And then in April and May of 2025 is when you see the actual impact of that chaos. And this might be due to a variety of reasons, but the final end result is there will be some sort of a disturbances in banking sector, financial sector, financial institutions, stock market and bond market. And like I said, if we go further to transit Rahu, it's almost the same thing. So there is no specific, because Saturn and Rahu are going to swap their houses. So the impact will be the same irrespective of whether Saturn is in Pisces or Aquarius and Rahu is in Pisces or Aquarius. Now let me go and look at the impact of the other transit planets. The most important I will be doing is transit Mars and transit Sun. Transit Mars is going to be entering Leo somewhere. Actually, before it enters Leo, it will be in Cancer, where it co-joins with transit natal Rahu and natal Mercury, and the current Vimsottari Mahadasa is Rahu Mahadasa and Mercury Antaradasa. That's when transit Mars is going to be there before it enters Leo. That means in the month of March, April, May. These are the 3 months, somewhere in April or May. That means this is something that we have to keep in mind, is from astrological perspective, transit Mars, when it enters the 6th house from natal moon. 6th house deals with the public diseases in general for a country. So when transit Mars enters and co-joins with natal Rahu and natal Mercury, and the current Vimsottari Dasa is Rahu Mahadasa and Mercury Antara Dasa, and of course Ketu Pratyantara Dasa too. So Mars will be creating some sort of a disturbances in public health. And then it in June or July, in June, somewhere in June, beginning of June, it enters Leo. That means it is going to be in the 7th house from natal moon. So transit Mars is going to have a direct aspect, the 7th aspect, on transit Rahu and natal moon, and the 8th aspect on transit Saturn in June and July for those 2 months. And if you look at it, the 7th house for a country represents foreign affairs and relationship with other countries. So this is the time which is something that will have some sort of a unexpected events to happen when it comes to foreign affairs or relationship with foreign country or countries, I should say, both, either of them. And then let's go and look at one of the important thing is transit Sun. Just for this year in 2025, transit Sun will be in Sagittarius all the way until 13th of January, which is a very good sign, because it just goes, it's co-join, it is on the that is called the 11th house from natal moon. That's a good thing, we don't need to worry. And on 14th of January 2025, Sun enters Makara Rasi, that means Capricorn, which is the 12th house from natal moon. And any planet that is in the 12th house from natal moon is considered to be a bad, is going to give a bad impact. That is the general rule, whether it is for a human being or a country. So now transit Sun entering the 12th house on 14th of January is something that needs to be looked from a different perspective, because 12th house deals with the prisons, hospitals, asylums, and occasionally the end of a regime. Means, yeah. So this is something that we have to see how natal Rahu is in the 6th house from natal moon. So this is what we have to see, is how is this going to, when transit Sun enters Makara Rasi, which is the 12th house from natal moon, how is it going to impact the country, especially because transit Sun's direct aspect is on natal Rahu and natal Mercury, and the current Mahadasa is Rahu Mahadasa and Mercury Antaradasa. So we got to see how the things unexpected, what are the unexpected events that can happen during this 1 month, or I should say it as, approximately 1 month of the time. And then from 13th February to 12th March, transit Sun will be in Aquarius. That means the 1st house. And there it is going to, if you look at it, transit Saturn is still residing there. And transit Sun is going to co-join with transit Saturn and natal moon. Saturn and Sun are bitter enemies. So the enemies are staying in the 1st house from natal moon. Both two are transit planets, and they are staying with the natal moon in the 1st house. So that is something that needs to be carefully monitored, because the 1st house in general deals with the whole country. So what exactly is going to happen, anything, it is unpredictable. So we just got to wait and see how transit Saturn and transit Sun co-joining with natal moon and that too the country going to Sade Shani. That will be during that period, it will be the second phase of Sade Shani. How is it going to impact the country is what we need to wait and see. Thank you for watching my video. This is the 2025 Sidereal Ephemeris analysis, and I just gave one example, that is the country of the United States of America, how to analyze the based upon the transit planets, how to analyze a chart from natal moon. And I am hoping that you like this video. Please feel free to contact me if you need any suggestions, astrological, from an astrological perspective. If you have any queries, feel free to contact to my email address. And if you are interested to get in your personal chart analyzed for the year 2025, visit my website karraastrology.com and complete the contact form, and then I will approach you and further details. Thank you very much. Have a good day.